Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Conquer Marketing Easy Data Best Practices. I'm Jeanette Rumsey, Corporate Education and Engagement Manager for AccuData, and today's webinar moderator. Before we get started, I'd like to review a few important items with you. First, questions can be submitted throughout today's webinar, but will be covered at the end of the presentation. Please use the Q&A panel within the GoToWebinar platform to submit your questions. If there are questions that we do not cover, email them to info@accudata.com for a prompt reply. You can also call your AccuData representative at 800-732-3440. And please stay tuned for more information on our special gift for you. Next, I would like to introduce today's presenters, Nate Patel and Bethany Mckay. Nate is AccuData's Executive Vice President of Sales and Service and has been with AccuData since 2002. Nate is responsible for all aspects of sales, business development, and customer service for AccuData's diverse client base. And Bethany is a Vice President of Sales with AccuData and has been with the company for 19 years. She specializes in working with printers and mailers, helping them to maximize profits in all types of database marketing. And Nate, at this point, I'll go ahead and turn things over to you.
All right, thanks Jeanette, and thanks to all of you attending today. We've got some great content to cover. Our presentation today is broken down into 4 main sections. First, we're going to define the Universal Marketing Challenge. Second, we go over 5 data best practices to help beat those challenges. Third, we're going to talk about the desired outcomes that marketers would like to achieve. And then fourth and final, we're going to take time out, as Jeanette just mentioned, to answer some of your questions that come up. All right, the direct marketing industry of today, it's in a state of constant flux. We write and rewrite the rules with advances, innovations, and development. It's all leading us down the road towards unique campaign enhancements and improved effectiveness. Hot data, data-related services emerge all the time, presenting marketers new methods to reach their desired audiences. A recent example has been the marriage of offline data and online data, developing personalized targets in what used to be a very impersonal space. Each evolution brings new opportunity, but marketers are inevitably, it creates new challenges for marketers. Today's presentation will help you overcome some of the most common challenges that brand marketers and value-added reseller partners experience. According to the latest research from Experian and Selligent, the top challenges faced by today's marketers are improving data accuracy, inadequate capabilities around data and analytics, segmentation and targeting, creating relevance through content, and finally, putting customer data to work from a variety of channel and data inputs. And we certainly cannot forget about conversion. Gaining the attention of your desired audience among very crowded mailboxes and inboxes is the universal marketing challenge brand marketers face. The Data and Marketing Association recently released that it's now taking 7 to 13 touches to create a conversion. So how do you differentiate yourself or those that you represent?
That's a great question, Nate. Hi, everyone. I am Bethany. The way to differentiate really lies in the application of some very easy-to-use data best practices. They can help you remove some of the most basic marketing challenges and ensure that you're getting the right message to the right person at the right time. So let's talk about 5 easy-to-apply data best practices that are going to help you achieve your marketing challenges and overcome whatever issues you're facing. First, let's talk about some data hygiene. We're going to talk about some analytics, adding intelligence, building some segments and creating some groups within data, creating some versions, and using the segments we spoke about to send out different version pieces. And then also we'll talk a little bit about embracing multi-channel. So you want to market for the most impact and response. So let's tackle data hygiene first. We want to improve data accuracy and maintain high deliverability, which really equals mitigating some wasted dollars. The cleaner your data is, the better off you're going to be in the long run with ROI. So we want to unify some customer or donor data into a clean single view. We want to standardize addresses, correct any data that may be incorrect, and cleanse everything prior to doing any modeling or enhancement. Some statistics for you that are pretty crazy, especially the first one. The cost of bad data to U.S. businesses each year is $3.1 trillion with a T. That's a lot of wasted budget. 25% is the rate of consumer decay annually. If you think about your own life and changes that you've made, moves that you've made, or life events that have occurred, that's that decay that happens, and the data needs to be refreshed to capture all of those changes. 40% is the number of leads that contain bad data. You know, you get a lead, you want to follow up, and unfortunately you just can't connect with that lead because the information is not correct. And 66% is the boost of revenue seen by implementing best data practices. So let's talk about a little bit of those hygiene processing that you can do to clean up your files. The first is NCOA. NCOA is very basic. It's National Change of Address. It's going to look at addresses that you have in a database, figure out if there is a change for that address, which is called a NICSI, and then it's going to give you the address that is the replacement for the most current way to contact that business or consumer. NCOA goes up to about 48 months, but many partners, compilers, and data companies can go a little bit beyond that and hit a 60-month. The last 12 months are really proprietary. So if you think about a consumer database, they have information on many changes that occur when they get all of their updates. They keep that, compile it, and add it to NCOA to give you the benefit of some additional time in that look back. NCOA also does a CAS within the processing, which we'll speak about, and also LAX, which basically converts a rural address over to a full street address. So CAS is a USPS address standardization kind of process. It's going to take the records and it's going to identify any issues and correct them for zip code, zip for carrier routes, delivery point, and such to make sure that you get the most deliverability that you can when you drop it in the mail. DSF is something that is very helpful both for client data as well as consumer compiled data runs through this. It's going to improve your deliverability because it's going to score all of the addresses that you put in, and it's going to identify any addresses that could have some issues in the directionals or the addresses where it may not be delivered. It's also going to identify vacancies. So in the area that we live in, Florida, there's a lot of vacancies. There's people moving from this place to that place, and you may see a home in a neighborhood sit empty for a couple of months. DSF is going to catch that so you can hold on mailing to that address and not waste the print or the postage. And then finally, we don't want to just talk about postal. We want to add in a little bit about cleansing email data as well. Email, as you know, you can change your email address every day if you want to. You can create a brand new one and be receiving email at a different place. Our process, and many processes out there for email validation, will take a list of emails. On the back side of that, it will kind of ping that email address to figure out, is that a good address? Is it going to be delivered? Is this some sort of a spam trap? Is there a problem with this email address to where the email will bounce and not be sent? And it will flag those. So you can remove them before you actually deploy an email campaign. Once you remove them, you could actually take the additional step of running it through an append to try and find the most up-to-date email for that particular address.
All right, thanks, Bethany. Okay, the second hurdle that many marketers face is this. The data analytic capabilities they have access to are either non-existent or below average at best. And they could be lacking in one or more of the areas outlined below on this slide. A real-time analytic tool that can elevate targeting beyond traditional list selection, or the confidence in their tools just to allow the data to tell a story and to avoid forcing outcomes. Or third, action on data attributes that can drive better enhancement and sourcing initiatives. Some key industry stats that drive this point home. 1 in 5 marketing leaders are challenged by the lack of analysis. And more than 8 out of 10 state that analytics has a considerable to very high impact on decisions. All right, so as you work through this challenge, first off, understanding the primary analytic options is critical. How much data, what kind of data, desired outcomes, timelines, and campaign objectives can all be factors when determining which tool is the best option. Primary categories of analytics include descriptive and predictive. A descriptive process is going to analyze any singular segment, like say best customers, match against predefined demographics, and build out a profile of lookalikes. It is a descriptive process. Predictive processes look at two or more segments of data and try to define statistical differences between the groups. And these can be like any two groups, such as buyer, non-buyer, or high-value donors versus low-value donors, existing members versus lost members. And predictive models can also be customized to analyze multiple segments and can factor in proprietary client data, such as RFM or other elements. We've got some examples here of what, some predefined demographic elements that come standard on one of our two descriptive modeling products. And they can range by source, but generally you're going to see a sampling of consumer household composition as well as property level detail. In some cases, you may also see traditional cluster tools such as the niches that are mentioned here. And then, typically you're going to receive a summary slide like the one you see here, and these are included with each project, and they can highlight not only the match rate, so in this case 79%, but also we'll call out the top 10 most matched demographics. You can see here that we're sorting them top down, and they're giving you the demographic and the value range and the percent that it matched to that customer input file. Gives you a real high-level view of those elements that match the most. Switching gears to the predictive side, this slide displays a key chart included with Predictive Analytics. It begins to illustrate lift derived from modeling gains and serves as a marketer's success map. By predicting a behavior with the model and then sort ranking a prospect universe, we can uncover just how far to go into the prospects while still yielding a cumulative lift at a positive ROI, which is obviously key to marketers. If the behavior, in this case we're talking about response, is represented in the last two columns, we see that each individual rank will generate what that rank is going to generate versus the average response and the cumulative effect of adding the ranks together. In this example, we see that our marketer can take the top 5 ranks, eliminate basically 50% of the universe or waste, and get an average lift of 1.5 times.
Good info. Okay, so let's talk now about building segmentation. I talk to customers all the time, and a lot of them have very big files, either that they are using for prospecting or that belong to their house file. And they have a lot of information within them, but they don't always segment them into smaller actionable groups that they can actually utilize to create some more effective offers and do some different things in terms of how they speak to those groups. So segmenting a large database is really important and really helpful. So let's talk a little bit about that. You can segment a file based on who the people are, what are their demographics, what are their personas, what kind of grouping might they fit in. If you know anything about segmentation tools, there are very many of them that are readily available on the market, like Prism and those. You can do that within your own file. It doesn't have to come from outside. You can look at RFM segments within your file, the recency, frequency, and monetary value spend of a customer, and divide your groups up based on that. You can also look at things like channel preference or responsiveness. Where are the responses coming from, and are those customers or consumers responding to you in the same channel ongoing? That would indicate that that's their preference. And you're going to have a lot of information within a file that may be organic, and that can drive some different segmenting as well. So a few statistics for you. 21% of marketers stated that they were confident in the completeness of their customer profiles. Only 21%. That means 79% of marketers are not confident in that. That's a really big statistic. 40% lack the data quality they need to actually do segmentation. And 44% are using a third-party data source to add intelligence. So that means half of people are not. It's a big number there. When you look at a file and you want to create a persona, you're going to possibly be adding information, demographic appending, adding age and education attributes and other pieces of information to what you currently have. And then by looking at that, you can create these segments. So here's an example. This is a food bank that we did some work for, and we tried to show them how their database could be divided. And if you look at the 3 different options, you'll see one is high dollar, highly educated. They fall a little bit older in the group. They have a higher level of education and a higher marketing value. The middle one is more low dollar local donors. They fell a little bit younger in age. They've been in the neighborhood for a while and they're quite close to the food bank, so they likely know about the food bank and what they do in the community. And then the last one is single donor shoppers. These are a little bit younger, again, families. They have children, and they show some propensities towards catalog and online shopping with credit cards. AccuData actually did some segmenting ourselves, and we have been a little bit wowed by some of the response that we've seen. We took our database, we appended different business firmographics to it, and we tried to understand the types of titles that we work with, everyone from the customer service level up to C-level. And we divided our database into some different personas so we could speak to those different groups using messages that are going to be more relevant to them with information that they can apply and teach others about within their company. And when we did that, we actually have seen our open rates double and our click-through triple, which is really just speaks to the value and how segmenting can help.
All right, thanks, Bethany. So moving along through the challenges, as we progress here, we should now have clean data. We're going to have some analytic intelligence and segmentation applied. So now we're to this stage. Why in the world would we send the same message to everyone in the database, especially given just what Bethany just shared with you? Using the intelligence we gathered about our data lets us create strategies to create relevance. So it's not just the right target at the right time. We need to use the right creative. In the food bank example, later in this presentation, I'm going to give you an example about how an A-B split is going to impact that. But all 3 of those segments are very different but viable. If we create custom copy that appeals to each, change subject lines and email messaging, we can talk later about applying multi-channel to certain segments that might be more responsive. So some statistics. 40% of consumers state that offers they receive don't appeal to them. Marketers experience a 51% increase in open rates when the email is personalized and triggered. And nearly 9 out of every 10 consumers say personalized content influences their decision. So this is just 2 of the examples. If we're going to circle back to Bethany's food bank example, but here's 2 of the examples of the segments. And what we've shown here is how messaging can impact engagement. The high dollar donors are getting information on a formal fundraising gala that might appeal to them. Obviously, Bethany said that they're a little bit more on the affluent and established stage of their life. And then on the single donor shoppers, it's next time you're out shopping, add a few cans of food to your cart, which is going to appeal to that group specifically. 2 very different groups, the same, 2 very different offers to them, trying to, impact that engagement.
All right, and our last, number 5, we're going to talk about multi-channel. Just like we spoke about versioning, we want to, and also the segment of people maybe who have a channel preference, you want to touch these different groups of people in different ways. You want to use multi-channel and leverage different channels and data sources to speak to them. You want to create programs that are going to engage them through direct mail, through email, mobile, digital display, social. There's so many more channels that you can incorporate in to reach out to these people. And as we know from the very beginning, it takes a lot of impressions to drive conversion. So if you're only speaking to them in one way, only periodically, it's going to take a while for you to get all of those impressions, where if you do multi-channel, you can hit that number of impressions to get to your conversions a little bit quicker. Some more good statistics for you. The increase in conversion rate generated from multi-channel campaigns is a 24% increase. Definitely a big jump. 66% of online consumers that made a purchase have made a purchase resulting from an email marketing message. You get 3 times the additional amount of spend when you speak to people through multi-channel. And 85% of consumers start purchasing on one device and finish on another. I am guilty of that. I have Amazon on every device I have. I start shopping on one, it goes in my shopping cart, and maybe I finish up on a different device later. So again, you want to make sure you're touching people in multiple ways to either remind them about your brand or get them to take some action. So let's talk about a couple of the different ways. Email marketing. You send an email, it gets delivered pretty instantly, and you can immediately start seeing how many people and how much traffic is pushing to your landing page or your website. It's great for both prospecting and loyalty, and you can add emails to a file that you don't currently have emails available through appending, and try to reach out to people in different ways through that. Digital display, another great way. Just like direct mail, except it's going to be delivered digitally. So they're going to see your ad on a web page, and they're going to be able to interact and click through to get more information from there. Another way to do digital is to actually identify your postal list using all of the demographically rich data you have available there, and then take that file and match to those IP addresses. So you're only displaying the digital ad to the same people that you have sent a direct mail piece for. So that's your second touch. And it allows you to be very specific in who you target versus purchasing some space on a website and hoping that the consumers come and see your ad. In this way, you're going to ensure it, because when they log on to their computer, they're going to see your ad. Social media. Everybody's doing it. Everybody's on social media. It's a great place to get in front of people. Their eyes will scroll down that news feed, and you're going to get impressions, and then the more of those that you have, the closer to your conversion you're going to get. You can use Facebook and Instagram, find an audience, or match to an audience that you've touched in one of the other ways, through email or through postal. That way, again, you're building out that multi-channel and reaching these audiences in multiple ways. Retargeting is something that's really beneficial. It really drives up response. And retargeting is basically finding consumers who have done some activity against maybe an email campaign. They've opened, they've clicked, they've looked at information, they just haven't pulled the trigger yet. You can retarget them with a digital ad to try and drive them over the edge and get them to convert.
Okay, excellent. So lots of great information covering the key challenges faced by marketing professionals. The goal, like with all your efforts, is going to yield the outcomes each of us are measured by every day. So either refine audiences with analytics and segmentation, increase ROI on each piece and impression by making smarter decisions around the knowledge you obtain, create custom offers and communication that promote response and the desired customer journey, or reap the rewards of higher engagement and conversion. Lastly, build new opportunities for long-term loyalty, brand awareness, and lifetime value.
Excellent. Nate and Bethany, thank you so much for taking our attendees through today's Conquer Marketing Easy Data Best Practices webinar. I would like to announce that as our thanks for attending, each of you will receive a copy of our newly published guide, Using Data, What You Need to Know for Better Marketing Results, via email later today. And now we have several questions that have come in from the audience, so we're going to go ahead and start addressing those for you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you do still have questions, please feel free to submit those for us using your GoToWebinar Q&A panel. So the first question that has come in is, what types of hygiene and enhancement solutions are available for B2B files? So Bethany, will you please address that for us?
Sure, absolutely. So the NCOA is going to update addresses on the business file, but what it's not going to do is identify businesses that are no longer existing. There is a flag called an out of business flag that you can do. You run the file through and it will identify any records that they feel, based on several different pieces of history about that business, that they have gone out of business. And then on the enhancement side, you can append all sorts of firmographic attributes to a business file. We have an online tool that actually does it really quickly. Things like sales volume, employee size, job titles, contact names, year started, anything really that you can select by on a business list, you could also use to append.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. We had one of our attendees ask if the stats from today's presentation will be available. Yes, absolutely. We will be posting a copy of today's recording on our AccuData.com website, and that will be available for you Friday morning. All you'll need to do is go to our resources page, and then you will have access to the presentation. So the next question that has come in is, how much data do I need on my file to benefit from analytics? Nate, would you go ahead and address this for us, please?
Sure, yeah, good question. And the answer is going to be based on a couple of things. First, the type of analytics you're considering, and then obviously the quality of the data. For a descriptive profile, we require a minimum of 500 records. You notice that on that slide that we showed, the summary page, that only roughly 79% match. That's going to vary depending on the input quantity. But we like to have a minimum of 500 there. And on the predictive side, we require 2,000 total. And remember, there are at least two segments, so we're looking for about 1,000 from each segment. That can be the responders or non-responders, buyers, non-buyers, whatever those two segments are. The total should be about 2,000 records to get a statistically viable sample.
Bethany, I'm going to go ahead and give the next question to you since you spoke about NCOA. We have an attendee asking what the average turn time is for running an NCOA job.
Oh, we can turn that around within a couple hours, definitely same day. It's a pretty quick process. It's an automated tool we upload to, and it runs fairly quickly. There are some postal documentations that sometimes need signed. A postal acknowledgement form is one of them. So you just sign off on that, and then it's very quick.
Excellent, thank you. And Bethany, I'm going to go ahead and address this next one to you as well, since you spoke about multi-channel. We have an attendee asking, they have a list of prospects and want to know if we are able to help with their email and digital ad placement.
Absolutely. We can take that list and do some matching. So we can try to match to the address of that list and then create some digital display there. We can do some social as well, trying to match to that, and incorporate other digital as well. If they have email or not, we could append and incorporate that so they're actually doing that whole multi-channel thing that I spoke about earlier.
Okay, fantastic. And Bethany, I'm going to go ahead and give this one to you as well because it's another digital question. We have an attendee that would like to know how digital marketing is tracked.
Sure. So digital marketing, if you think about what you're wanting somebody to do, you're sending out a digital ad, be it through email or through some, online digital display. You want them to click. You want them to open your email, but once they get to that point or once they see your ad online, you want them to click. So they're going through to the landing page or the site that you've put behind it. That is how it's tracked. So on email, we can track how many people opened it and how many people click through, and you can actually get some information regarding what link they clicked on. So you can use that to further kind of adjust your creative in the future. If certain pieces were getting more action, you may want to move those links around. On the display side, when a user clicks on a banner or a social media ad, we capture that activity, and that comes back to you in a report. There are also things called tracking pixels that are tiny little pieces of code that are embedded in those ads, and those can also track activities after the ad has been clicked on.
Excellent. Our next question is pertaining to analytics and budgeting. We've got an attendee that says his clients have small budgets and cannot afford analytics, so what should he offer to them? Nate, would you go ahead and address that, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think sometimes it's just because folks think of the analytics as like a luxury or an add-on and not a necessity, that like we covered it in the deck today. But I would just consider offering a descriptive profile to start, like our snapshot product. It's an entry level, it's very affordable, and it's going to give them that view of whatever that segment they're analyzing, say best customers, looks like. And then you can sort of step them up as they see benefits from either more targeted prospects and saving money there. You can step them up to more advanced analytic tools, so almost like a crawl, walk, run strategy.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, our next question is, what is the best way to start creating segments on my file? Bethany, will you take care of that, please?
Sure, absolutely. The best way, and really the easiest way to create segments, is to add data through a data append. Once your file has been enhanced with demographics and lifestyle attributes and more information about them, then you can start seeing some natural patterns that are kind of going to bubble up from that appended data, and any of the data that you have on your file, such as transactional or any historical data. And so when you get to that place, you start seeing it, you can start kind of creating some idea of what those segments might look like and figure out which people are going to fit into each bucket, so to speak.
Fantastic. So we've got one last question that's come in. We'll go ahead and address this, and then we will wrap up today's presentation. Nate, I'm going to pass this to you, please. Can email and digital campaigns be sent at the same time a mail piece will be received in-house?
Yeah, absolutely. So based upon the mail dates, both email and digital display campaigns, they can be deployed concurrently with the direct mail campaign. We see this a lot in specific verticals like retail, home builder, auto, but you can see how it might apply to any, and we can really coordinate both the mail piece and the digital aspect.
Okay, terrific. Thank you all so very much for attending today. And on behalf of Nate, Bethany, and the entire AccuData team, we do appreciate you spending a little bit of time with us today. I invite you to contact us for any questions that you have on eliminating your marketing challenges, and have a terrific rest of the day.